Well, good morning, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola, another one of our Daybreak live shows, kicking off President's Day, this beautiful Monday in Central Florida, certainly in Osceola County, and doing it the right way by talking to Kristen Arrington, State Representative from District 43. We will not wait any longer, and there she is. Bam!
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just never know, Keith, what show I'm on now. Is this Daybreak Live, Coffee Cup? I can't follow along, but I'm happy to be here every Monday morning giving you all a weekly update.
I can promise you I'm not sure most days as well.
Understood.
Variety of life. So there you have it. So how was your weekend?
Weekend was great. This is my last weekend coming home to the district until the end of session, so I won't be around for 3 more weeks. So I was happy to come home for the rodeo, this beautiful weather, catch up with my family a little bit, and I'm hitting the dentist this morning before I head back out for 3 weeks, just trying to take care of some self-care.
That's fun. Always. Sometimes it seems like there's not enough time for that, but there always needs to be. So my wife reminds me often, you got to stop and do the stuff you're supposed to do. So we'll do that. I'll share in a few minutes. I'll share when we pop back in. My son called me over the other day and said he was doing some homework over at Valencia in his local government class, which I think I may have referenced before. And your name was all over the place in that particular discussion post because he's taking it online. I'll explain what I mean by that in a few seconds. So let's go ahead and make this official. Cool. There we go. And again, way too much Keith in that thing for sure. So we will welcome again Kristen Arrington, State Representative from District 43. And thanks for taking the time out this morning. I know with the legislative session, you're busy and trying to take care of all kinds of other business. So welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me. We are at the 2/3 mark for the legislative session. So 3 more weeks to go. So some of us are doing a little bit of a countdown.
That's very cool. I kind of referenced something cool I thought that my son showed me this weekend. So one of his assignments, and I was coaxing him a little to take local government and state governments. He needed to take another course in that realm anyway, but I'm like, hey, take that one. That'll be cool to see you take. And so one of his assignments, and the idea is that individuals, young leaders should understand, how government works and the elected officials that we have and representatives that we have. And so his assignment, let me see his assignment was basically, what district are you in? And then talk about your representative, and mostly the state and local, not US based. And so he showed me it's an online discussion, and we're in District 42, but he has to also reply to some of the other students in the course. And a lot of them had Kristen Arrington, District 43. So it was very cool to see all the things that they were talking about and talking about past elections, certain things that you're doing. And so these kids really research big time.
Absolutely. We had Valencia students up in the Capitol this last week, and it was probably my favorite meeting. And I did get to meet so many folks that live in District 43, and they had great questions, and they're so engaged, and I'm really impressed by how much they're following things. When they ask what the issues are that are important, I told them, I said, but you all know the issues that are important because you've just told them to me, and you all live them. And so that's going to be your job coming up, is to make sure that you put a focus on those. So, but yeah, I love Valencia students, so it's great to hear that.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I think you and I may have talked about this a few weeks ago, but I think people go, oh my gosh, the future is in the hands of these kids. Really? That may not be a bad deal. Some of these kids are pretty sharp. I was really put back by some of the the understanding, the grasp of what, how our government works. And I was pretty impressed to hear how my son was looking at things. I'm like, man, I didn't even realize that was something you're interested in, but really cool. People said a lot of great things about what you're doing, some of the values you have. So it was cool.
Great to hear. We joke that we should mentor students, but really they should mentor us, because we can learn so much from them. And I'm always impressed, and I always take something away after I have a meeting with students.
Agree. All right, so I'll be quiet and go ahead and give us that weekly update that we are so appreciative of.
Sounds great. Well, as I mentioned, we are to the 2/3 mark of the legislative session, so we have 3 more weeks to go. I believe this week will be the last week that committees will be meeting. And if you've been following along and listening, usually legislation that's proposed, it has to be assigned to a committee, actually be on the agenda and voted on. And it has multiple committees that it has to go through before it gets to House floor, where all the general members vote on it. So we will have that last meeting this week. I think it's a 5-hour committee meeting I have for education and employment. So that will kind of be the last round that we're doing of vetting bills before they come to the House floor. So of course, as I always say, you can watch on the floridachannel.org, or you can go to myfloridahouse.gov to see the legislation that we're going to be voting on, and also follow along if you want to follow live. I'll share in the comments afterwards a link on what the bills are that are on special order for this week. And special order means those are the bills that we're going to be voting on the House floor. On Tuesday, we will hear them, we will ask questions, we'll propose amendments. And then on Thursday, we'll actually debate and vote on those items. And then Friday, we'll be hearing another batch of them. So I'll share a link in the comments below so folks following at home can see, because we have a lot of bills on special order. Like I've said before, many of our bills are nonpartisan or bipartisan, but a couple of them are pretty partisan on there. So if you've been, following along on social media, make sure that you, follow along as well, and let your legislators know how you want them to vote on those items, because that is a big deal. But for us in the district, some of the things that are going on, as I mentioned last week, I was saying I hope that our guidance services and career counseling bill would be on its last committee stop, which it did last week. So I'm happy to say it passed unanimously through there. And that legislation, as I've mentioned, is just going to expand the current notification that students and parents receive that let them know about the dual enrollment and AP opportunities and 4-year college university opportunities. This legislation will expand that to include the career and technical pathway, so they know about internships and apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. And it also requires that the information be presented in a language understandable to the student and parent. So we're really happy that that one is still moving, and looking forward to passing that this session. I think, as I've mentioned before, that'll be great for our area, since we have Valencia campuses, OTEC, Florida Technical College, and we also have Valencia's Advanced Manufacturing Training Center. So I think this will be great for our students in Osceola, but also students across the state of Florida, and help with that workforce shortage that we currently have going on. Additionally, we're hoping to hear this week that our appropriations are going to be heard in the budget conference that I talk about. And appropriations are those funded projects for the district, like a funding project for Community Hope Center, and also one for a hydrilla study on Lake Toho. Those are my 2 top ones. Right. So hopefully we hear this week that budget conference is coming up. And when that happens, that usually is over a weekend, and all us legislators are on call. It kind of feels like you have an old school beeper that goes off, because you'll get a text message saying, budget conference is meeting in 20 minutes. And literally, you run to the Capitol for that 15-minute meeting, and we compare the Senate and the House budget, and negotiations go back and forth with the chair. And that's reps that are not in, chairman and not in leadership. We're in the back there making sure that our items are still in that budget. Mm-hmm. And if so, giving lots of thanks. And if not, running right over to the chair of the budget and say, hey, what can we do to get that back in there? That's important for my district. So that's kind of the next big thing coming up for District 43. And we hope to get an announcement this week, and be working on the budget soon. And Senator Torres and I have a lot of appropriations for Osceola that we've requested. So we're also meeting up this week. So him and I and our team can make sure that we're keeping an eye on each project and kind of assign them to everybody. So we make sure, as I said, when things are moving fastly, that we don't miss something and lose out.
That brings up a point. So a lot of these things are, and I'm not there, so this is just my assumption. So a lot of things must be happening at the same time. How do you not miss things that are vital to your interest, to your constituents interests? How, like I said, I think they've got to be happening somewhat simultaneously. So how do you work through that?
Absolutely. Well, for legislation, doing our bill tracking on myfloridahouse.gov or the Senate side, we're able to follow special bills and see, as soon as they're agendaed or they're noticed, so we're able to, keep up to date because, as you said, things are moving fastly and we have the House and the Senate both. So tracking systems definitely help for that. Also watching the Florida Channel .org helps as well, but yes, things move fast, and that's why I said Senator Torres and I are going to make sure that we get together and make sure that we divvy up and that we're watching those. I might have to reach out to some of my colleagues that are Democrat ranking members on some of them just to make sure. But I think we haven't met yet. I think I'll be watching two of the committees, which would be the ag appropriation and the infrastructure appropriation. So if so, they probably will not meet at the same time because it really is like a 15-minute meeting. And that's where it's great to have my team because they also keep me up to date too on things moving quickly. Or if something happens when I'm on one meeting, they let me know, oh gosh, this is going on or this is happening right now. So I know to get on it right away. It literally does take a village.
Have you ever thought, I know some states have where it's a year-round scenario for representatives. It's not that way in Florida, and like state to state, very different. So that's got to make it a fairly intense scenario, right? You do all your homework, the committee work, and then bam, you're there doing all the work. It's got to make it slightly intense for you guys.
It definitely does, and we're told that this is a part-time job, but it truly isn't because of that. And I know different states have a lot of different models where they meet year-round, might meet every other year. It just depends, and it's really interesting when you do look at other states and how they do things so much differently. But I don't see us changing anything anytime soon. What does happen though is the governor is able to call special session. So when we don't get things done or when he has an agenda item. So since being elected, I've had two special sessions, one for the gaming and one for the vaccine mandate. So we still have that opportunity that we can be called at any time to come in for a week or come in for 2 weeks. So we could maybe not get the budget done and get extended to the end of session. So there definitely is a lot of uncertainty. And I always remind folks, we don't always agree on both sides of the aisles on all issues, but there's definitely a respect and a decorum that has to be had because, you got to have respect for folks that are leaving their families, their friends, their jobs for this long and putting a lot of focus on, doing what they think is right.
And I think it always draws back to the, not a perfect system, certainly the best system in the world. And it's the one we have. And, so not always in agreement for sure, but I love that you mentioned the respect and the how people are dealing with each other. It's great. Let's talk apportionment if we could. So how about the new district maps that are still, those are not final yet, correct?
They're not final yet. And also I've got to see what happened Friday in the congressional meeting. That one has been delayed because of the governor proposing maps. So I do have to get up to date on what the latest is with that one. We will see if the courts delay this at all, but they have not necessarily been approved. I would tell you that legislators and candidates are acting like they are, approved and probably starting to campaign and file for those seats. And definitely people are looking at those opportunities. So I would say that most of us are assuming that that's going to, be moving forward at this time and trying to plan accordingly.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that myself. I don't have this information in front of me right now, but I'm pretty sure the Kissimmee Osceola County Chamber is having some type of an event, legislative update. I believe they are when session is complete. I don't have that in front of me. Do you, by chance?
I do. Let me get my calendar up actually, because I think that's on here for March 20 something ish. Let me look up here real quick and see if I've got that.
That's always I personally love that. I think it's a great event. They do a great job putting it together.
I think it looks like that's going to be March 29th, unless something happens like session gets extended. We had last year, the chamber had scheduled that, and then the governor called special session 2 weeks after, so they had to reschedule it. So I'm sure John Newstreet and team have that tentatively on there, but I do think that's a great update too, because all of the delegation is there. We definitely have different projects and different perspectives to bring to the table. And, it's a great way to kind of give a recap of the session as well. But at the end of session 2, I'll give a recap, of course, and send that out. So as I always say, and I see you have my email up there, please reach out to me if you want to sign up for our updates, and we'll keep you in the loop. Those will come to your email, and you can read them at your convenience or delete them if you don't want to see them for the week. But it's a great way to follow along and see what's going on. And Eleanor does a great job providing links to all the legislation too in that email. So if you want to see more, it's a smaller screenshot in English and Spanish, but there's definitely links so you can dive in.
Yeah, you do a great job communicating, and we appreciate it. I get all your updates. They're always some great content in there, and I say that sincerely, not just because you and I are talking right now live.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to keep watching and make sure that you're opening them. I'll be tracking you, Keith, to make sure that you're telling the truth.
Yes, I am. But I'm going to go back and make sure I didn't miss any.
Absolutely. And, I just want to also discuss, since we're talking about legislation that's moving and the committees, a lot of the stuff is dying at the same time now. So some folks that, have hope on certain bills, folks that have been following some of my HOA legislation or animal lovers like me, because of our subcommittees have stopped, that legislation is not moving forward. But I would tell folks that are following things or excited about things, don't be upset if it's dead this year. It usually takes a while to get things moving. You have to get all the stakeholders involved, do a lot of research, do a lot of data, prove why this is needed. So if you are passionate about something that didn't pass this session, please see if you can help move it along, this next session, because as I said, it usually does take a little while to actually, get it moving forward and passed.
That interestingly enough, my son also asked me, he goes, Dad, I'm not sure. He was doing some kind of a research thing for Valencia as well. He said, so I'm not sure, in the state of Florida, do bills most often not make it through committee, or are they filibustered more often? I'm like, I think for sanity purposes, the answer is definitely there. Most bills are not filibustered. And I don't know does Florida can you filibuster in the state of Florida?
I don't think so. The thing is, the numbers are so just disproportioned right now because Republicans have 2/3 of the House.
Sure.
So, talking about that earlier, it's great to have both sides, but I would most definitely tell you that we need a little bit more balance in the House between having a Republican governor and 2/3 of majority in the House. I think it's good to have a little bit more balance. So yes, things don't even get heard on a committee agenda if it's something that leadership doesn't approve. And to be honest with you, we've been on the floor for a couple of weeks, and I think we've only heard 1 or 2 Democrat bills. So Democrat bills are not moving this session very well. I think for the appropriations for the budgets, I think only 5% of the appropriation projects are for Democrat districts.
Right.
So it's definitely on some of those issues very, very partisan.
Something a lot of folks in Osceola County would be surprised to hear that that's the case if you're not thinking about statewide, because in Osceola County, majority is certainly Democrat registered, not Republican. So if you're not thinking about the state, then you may be surprised about that. And I mean, really, I think that in the time we live throughout the nation, whether the state be red or blue, that's typically how we're seeing it, right? It's going to be all blue through the state legislature or all red through the state legislature, kind of a way where this is that time where that's, I think, pretty much that's just the status right now throughout the nation. Whichever way it is, it's kind of all or, the high majority anyway, which of course, as you said, that makes it challenging for the party and the minority, no doubt.
Well, and it'll definitely be different with redistricting here because, obviously these seats are a little bit different or drawn a little bit different, and we have new candidates and so forth. So it's definitely an opportunity. And I'd remind all those that are watching, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, is to make sure that, you do vote and let your family and friends make sure that they vote, because your voice really does matter. And as you've said many a times on here, local and state, those are the things that do affect you all daily. So it really is important to make sure that you're selecting those that you think are, properly representing you.
Yeah, and I guess I would say from this, and I know you've got things to do as well today, but I would also say not just watch. I mean, I know we try to highlight what's going on and what has happened recently, but I really want to encourage people to we said it before, reach out to your representatives. If you have a question, I would say no question is too small, because yourself or somebody on staff can point somebody to the source they're looking for. But really, I don't know that a time has been similar to this, and there's so much information that you need to know to make good decisions. In voting, I've never been a person to just flippantly votes. I try to research everything, and again, in the local, it's so important. So hope people take the time to always be informed, to always be connected to those who are representing them. So that's my preaching moment for the day.
And if I could add on to that preach for just a little bit, because of election laws have changed, those that vote by mail, which I think is the best way to vote, because as we just said, you can do your research on the candidates from your house, you can look online, you can call your friends, you can do whatever you need to do at your convenience. But with some election law changes, you are not automatically signed up to receive a vote by mail ballot if you have received one in the past. So just a reminder to everybody watching, if you want to vote by mail, make sure that you call the supervisor of elections office or go to voteosceola.com and make sure that you're signed up to receive that ballot, so you still keep receiving that ballot and are able to vote and do your research.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. I hope that media agencies will keep people informed about that, because I think we all assume a lot of things. So that's a big one. I'll keep my eye on that for sure. Anything else you want to share this morning?
That's just about it. I'll post some links in the comments just to keep everybody up to date, what we're going to be hearing this week and so forth, and so you can follow along. And I just appreciate your time, Keith, as always. I'm keeping everybody up to date and in the loop. It's a little bit of a mouthful there. My coffee is almost kicked in for a Monday, so I definitely look forward to talking with you all next Monday and giving you an update for the final weeks. Well,
we do really appreciate that all you're doing, and I know it's an added thing on your Monday to speak to us. So I really do appreciate it. I don't take it for granted whatsoever. And as I said, it was very cool to see how many students in my son's online class were referencing you. And I was watching, just going, man, they were nailing it. So it was very cool.
Well, thank you. That totally touches my heart. And as I said, I got to see some Valencia students last week, and it was the best part of my week. So that definitely adds to it. And it's always a pleasure starting my Monday with Positively Osceola. So thanks again for the opportunity.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate it. Like I said, again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with Kristen Arrington, State Representative, working up in Tallahassee, representing us. Make sure you communicate to her. Please do that. It is a big deal. Any questions, she was certainly, her or staff would be glad to field. From District 43, that's Kristen Arrington, together with Positively Osceola, making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.